So the first thing we need to do is select the book that we are going to read from today. So here's the spinner for Little Legend or Little Leader. So which book will we select? All right, looks like it's going to be, okay, we will be reading from Little Legends today. Okay, Legend it is. And then which page number in Little Legends will we be reading? Page number, what does it say? What does it say? Page number 64. Okay. All right. So let me get off of sharing the screen. We can make this a little bit bigger, I hope. Okay, I hope that works. Okay, so 64. Wow. We're going to be reading about Chuck D. Chuck D. And I'm already starting to think. Last week, when I first purchased these books to start this project with all of you, this was one of the stories that my son and I read first. So I kind of already know this one. So that's why I'm kind of happy and excited about it, because I just read this to my son last week. So I just made a connection with the text to myself. Okay, that's a reading strategy. So we're reading about Chuck D today. Who was Chuck D? And even though we're talking about history, some of these legends are actually still living, and he is one of them. Chuck D was born in 1960. He is a rapper. Born Carlton Riddenhour, Chuck always had a booming voice. When he was growing up on Long Island near New York City, his parents enrolled him in a summer course run by former members of the Black Panther Party, a militant political group formed in the 1960s that encouraged Black pride. His parents wanted him to learn about the history and his voice to uplift his people. But at that time, he was more interested in bossing around his younger siblings and practicing to be a sportscaster. I apologize. Let me make sure you can see the picture. Let's do it this way. Okay. All right, let's see. When Chuck heard a new type of music from the Bronx called rap, he fell in love with it. It would be a while, though, before he combined his voice, his understanding of history, and this music. Chuck studied graphic design in college and created flyers for local hip-hop shows while DJing with his friends at his school's radio station. So when I think of graphic design, I think about how now that opportunity to study graphic design is in high school for students. So if any of you are interested in learning how to design things on a computer, you can do that in high school once you leave Jackson. Something I was just thinking about. When a producer wanted to sign him to Def Jam Records, Chuck thought he was too old, but his age, 26, meant he had a different perspective from the younger rappers coming up. Eventually, he was convinced, and with his radio show buddies, formed the group Public Enemy. Chuck saw rap as a way to talk about and influence the Black community. He called rap Black America's TV station. He rapped about racism, politics, culture, and the importance of unity and uplift. At first, Public Enemy had a hard time breaking out. Their lyrics were deemed too political to be played on the radio. And at a time when you couldn't find success without radio play, So basically what that means is that when he was starting to produce his music and wanting it to go out to the public, his music was deemed too political. They wouldn't play it on the radio. And it was hard for music to become known if you didn't play it on the radio. So it was kind of like a barrier for him. But when popular director Spike Lee featured their song Fight the Power in his movie Do the Right Thing, their audience grew. And Spike Lee, I'm thinking about, there's a new movie that many people are starting to watch called American Skin. And I believe that's the latest movie that Spike Lee has produced. So he's still producing movies. Another thought, text to another movie or another book, Spike Lee. In 2013, Public Enemy was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, one of only a handful of rap and hip hop inductees. Chuck's intelligence and dedication to political and social change have made him a statesman for hip hop, as both an activist and artist, or as he has called himself, a raptivist. He combined what two words to make raptivist? Artist and activist. So he calls himself a raptivist. Chuck and his booming voice will be heard for generations to come. So Chuck D is who we learned about today. He is a rapper. He is still living, and he has been rapping about oppression and racism and all kinds of having bravery and never gave up, talking about those things in his music. All right. So again, scholars out there, Tigers, these books will be made available to you to try to earn yourself if you want to continue reading the stories that we will find in these books. Again, we will not get to all of the stories, but I will read to you as many as I can for this month so you can learn about different Black legends throughout history. Have a fabulous day. You still have about 15 minutes or so with your advisory class. At the bell, we will move along throughout our day like we normally do. But have a fabulous day. And as always, we'll see you in our school community. Have a good one. Two books are still the same. So our first wheel that we will spin will determine which book we will read from. I'm excited now because I get to finally get to what I wanted to do, which is read. Okay, Little Leader. I don't think we read a Little Leader last time, so we're reading a Little Leader today. Awesome. Okay, and then the page number that we are going to select. Page number, page number, page number. Okay, page number. Ooh, that's close. Okay, page number 74. Page 74. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. We are in Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History, and we selected on the wheel page 74. Today's Black Little Leader is Mae Jamison. Dr. Mae Jamison. There's her name and there's her picture. And just from the illustration, some of you may know what this may be about, making some predictions. Remember, students, I will practice thinking for you. I know it may be a distraction, but it is a way to help you remember that your brain is always working when you read. And if you pay attention to your brain, it helps you understand what you're reading sometimes better. So today we are going to learn about Dr. Mae Jamison, and she was born in 1956. Now today, students, your teachers will be receiving an email at 9:16, advisory teachers, and the email is going to be a Menti. Students, Menti is an activity where we can collect data quickly and see what most of us around in our school are thinking. And so today's Menti, the question is, what are the top 3 things that you learn about today's Black legend? The top 3 things that your advisory class takes away from today's story. So after I'm finished reading, hopefully you'll have a few more minutes left with your advisory class and you can answer the Menti. Just a fun activity if you're able to do so. And then I can share with you the results of what all of the students around Jackson learned with today's story by you all completing that Menti. Your advisory teachers will tell you more. All right, here we go. Dr. Mae Jamison, she was born in 1956, and by golly, this is another one that's still living. She was an engineer, a physician, and an astronaut. As a child, Mae loved to read, especially books about science and astronomy. By the time she was in kindergarten, she knew she wanted to become a scientist. This, however, did not keep her from other passions. Mae also wanted to be a dancer, and throughout her youth, she studied every type of dance. In college in the 1970s, Mae double majored in chemical engineering and African American studies. When she learned about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., she saw his work as a call to action to help people. So after graduating, she decided to become a doctor. She joined the Peace Corps in 1983 and traveled to West Africa on a 2-year program to provide medical assistance to those in need. After returning, she saw major changes taking place at NASA. In 1983, for example, Sally Ride became the first American woman in space. Mae had always imagined herself in space, but was hesitant to pursue that dream. But it was seeing the actress Nish Nichols play Lieutenant Uhura in the TV show Star Trek that finally inspired her to apply to the space program. In 1987, Mae became the first Black woman in the astronaut training program, and a few years later, she flew into orbit as the first African American woman in space. May still wanted to have a direct impact on people, so she left NASA in 1993 and created her own company, the Jameson Group, which researches ways technology can help people in their everyday lives. She also started the Dorothy Jameson Foundation for Excellence, which in 1994 launched The Earth We Share, a science camp for children. So there you are, Jackson Tigers, Dr. Mae Jameson, who was an engineer, a physician, and an astronaut. Became the first African-American person in the moon, in space. Pretty neat. So it's now time. In the next minute, your teachers will be receiving an email. Switch on over to your advisory group. Share with your group of students and scholars in your space what you learned today about today's Black Accomplisher. Have a fabulous day, Jackson Tigers. Let's make it a great Monday, even though it feels like it might be a little off already. Have a good day.